All right, could you give me the seating chart up here on my screen for the city council? Karen, can you take us live on the Zoom? Okay. That way it doesn't do me that way when I start the meeting. Huh? Yeah. But you think, yeah, you would think after doing this for 2 years, being in a 9:30 meeting, that it would. So, yeah. Apparently that's not.
I cannot because my computer wasn't running this morning when I went to boot it up, so I
You
do
can't-
not have one.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, October the 26th council agenda session. I now call this meeting to order. Can I have a motion on the minutes, please? We have a motion on the minutes with a proper second with no objection. The minutes will stand as recorded. All right, Mr. IT, I still don't have on my screen the council seating chart. All I have is a 3-minute number on there. Okay, I tell you what, council, until I've gotten the seating chart, you can just get your attention by raising your hand or voicing your concern. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would, under resolutions 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract for sale and purchase with Sunlight LLC and substantially the form attached for the purchase of 7725 Lee Highway, identified as tax parcel number 139FA003.04 for the amount of $2,785,000 with earnest money in the amount of $25,000 deposited with Jones Title Agency, Inc., and to execute all documents related to the transaction with closing fees for an amount not to exceed $10,000 for a total amount not to exceed $2,795,000.
All right, any questions or comments on 7A? Yeah, you just have to voice and let me know. Councilwoman Burrs.
records straight. Unfortunately, a very good idea has fallen to the Harper Valley PTA, who's doing a lot of spreading of wrongful information to the detriment of people who are in need. This is not housing for the homeless, the down and out with COVID. It never has been. All you're doing is approving the purchase of property, which, if you'll read the appraisal that Joda sent, is what it's worth. What we're doing is taking several areas. This happens to be an area that was a down and out area, and Councilwoman Hill, I know, will appreciate this. What we're doing is looking not at homeless, but at the spectrum of housing available to Chattanooga residents. In this particular case, we were able to get hold of and use money appropriately for something that can be renovated. The plans will be beautiful. It's going to be renovated into apartments. We have some people that have worked with the city for a long time, creating playgrounds, grassy areas, this sort of thing. And it will be mixed use. Some people will be paying rent. Some people will be paying subsidized rent. And I want all of this on record because of the wrongful information that's out there. We're very excited to be partnering with Silverdale Baptist Church and that whole community, plus the people in the area, to design, and that none of that's happened yet. It's in process. The wrongful information got ahead of us to design the RFP for who is going to manage it. We're not going to manage it. We're going to be the landlords. We're not going to manage it. And everybody in that community is pretty excited about it, simply because, unfortunately, they've had to deal with, because that's very rundown property. It's blight property. They're flop houses. And if the motel owners that are hearing me say this, I'm saying that because they're not cleaning it up. And so it's gone into very big disrepair. And so as a result, the people out there have had to suffer with needles, with rapid room rental, all sorts of things that the community don't want. So this is nothing more than taking blighted property and turning it around and using the community to help design what they think it should look like. And it's for a spectrum of housing and a spectrum of people who will be living there. People don't really learn from people that are all like them. Everyone knows that if you mix up housing, people learn from one another. There will be people, as I say, paying rent. I think it's a great idea. I'm sorry we didn't get on this sooner. I was unaware until recently of the wrongful information that's being spread, which in itself is not a good thing to do. So I'll answer any questions you have, and I'll be happy to do so.
Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair. Glad you have your map available to you now.
Yep.
I want to thank Councilwoman Burrs for bringing clarity to this conversation. It's an important one. And I too have gotten some questions, so thank you very much for getting that out in the open. And just want to add one further point, that we are challenged with finding housing that workers in Chattanooga can afford to live in. And when we talk about housing being affordable, we're talking about our firefighters, our police officers, our teachers, our nail salon technicians. These are people like all of us that may sometimes find that a project like this would be useful to them for stabilization and also for a great place to live. So I think that our community with this project has the opportunity to get a little more comfortable with innovation when it comes to how we approach housing affordability and affordable housing specifically. So I'm really glad you guys are doing this. Thank you.
Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jermaine, talk to us about the funding.
Yes, so the funding is going to come from basically our ARP dollars. And so these are dollars that cities across the country and counties across the country have received to recover as part of the COVID-19 pandemic. The interim guidance from Treasury clearly articulates that funding can be used for affordable housing projects, especially for low-income communities and for people who have been impacted economically by COVID. So to Councilwoman Burrs' point, this is not going to be used to house people who have COVID-19, but it can be used, but the money does allow us to make housing available for people who have been impacted economically, either because of loss of a job or they were downgraded to part-time status, or the money can just be used for people who are of low income. Now, that low income includes a large spectrum of people. So that could be people from 80% AMI all the way down to 0% AMI. So, at the lower end, you are talking about people who have zero income. But we do have the ability to help the people that need it most, to Councilwoman Hill's point. And so we are excited because this is an opportunity for us to do that. As all of you know, because most of you have business backgrounds, the cost of construction right now is through the roof. And so having the ability to take a property that is already built so that we don't have to build a building from scratch for affordable housing is a new innovative way of providing housing to people who need it the most. And so we're excited about that. I was talking to our realtor this morning about this particular project and sort of dotting some I's and crossing some T's, and he mentioned like, hey, it's not often that a hotel comes online because, typically when someone is trying to buy a hotel, they are not only trying to buy the property, they're also trying to buy the book of business for the hotel. And so in this case, this owner is sort of trying to dial back their portfolio a little bit. So this represents a unique opportunity for the city. We don't always get to choose kind of the ideal times for when real estate opportunities or economic development opportunities come to us. Sometimes we have to roll with the punches and be innovative, and this is one of those times. And so we feel good about this, and we are looking forward to bringing some affordable housing to District 6.
So just to be really clear for those that are listening, of the almost $3 million that we expect the cost to be,
Yep.
those $3 million are coming from where?
So this is going to come from our ARP dollars. So this is American Rescue Plan dollars.
Okay.
This is part of the overall $39 million pot that the city receives from the federal government.
So that's our initial investment.
Yes.
Ongoing expenses, do we expect that the rent that we are able to take in from some of these units will be able to maintain all the costs moving forward? Or do you expect there to be additional costs that the taxpayers will be paying for the property? Not that it's a bad idea, just I
Right.
want to be clear because to Councilwoman Burr's point, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Sure.
So let's just say what it is. And so
Sure.
everybody knows exactly where the money's coming from to support this.
Right. Well, typically with a mixed income property, it is going to be subsidized. And so there is going to be a need for some level of subsidy. And so, yes, I don't expect that the rents will cover the entire operating costs. But I do expect that we will have a plan that will allow us, as we do with all affordable housing projects, including those that we typically do pilots for, to be able to work with another organization to help us manage it and to keep those costs in line.
Got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Vice Chair had asked several questions. As I anticipated, he probably would jump going ahead of me. So thank you for that, Vice Chairman. Would you talk a little bit more about the on-site management? Because I know a lot of people will probably say the city shouldn't be in that business. So will you talk? I think that's an important component of this. We'll start
Yes.
off there.
Yes, our goal is to issue an RFP for the management of the property. As you mentioned, Councilman Ledford, we, the city, don't have any real experience doing that. And so So our goal is to issue an RFP for the management of the property. If there were to be, supportive housing services, we would need to also make sure that we were working with a partner that could provide those support services for some of the residents that live there. But our goal is to put out an RFP to manage the property.
Second, just want to make a quick comment about the property itself. That is on a path I travel regularly down Bonnie Oaks, and I'm familiar with the property. I have know people who own property next door, and I have been on many ride-alongs where that property in particular is the spot where you go to look for trouble in our city. So given the condition that it's in now, I would say that it's really only up from there. It's not a healthy place for our community. And I've seen it with my own eyes at 3 o'clock in the morning, luckily with a Chattanooga police officer with me. And I want to make sure that's pointed out. And I think, Chief Vaughn and Chief Tucker can add into that, but I've seen it. And so I know that it's only up from here.
Yes, it has had some challenges, as you mentioned, and those challenges are well documented. And so we certainly are not saying that it hasn't had challenges. But having said that, having the city involved and having us to be able to turn this into what we want to see it gives us an opportunity to make it something different and to give it a brighter future.
And the last part, Mr. Chairman, if I may, can you talk a little bit about the revamping or the redesigning of it? I've heard very talented folks are going to be involved in the makeover of this property. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we'll also have to look at doing an RFP for the revamp and the redesign of the property as well. Obviously, it's an older hotel, so it's got sort of an older hotel feel to it. The ground floor of the hotel, the rooms are external facing. The upper floor, the rooms are internal, so you have to go up in a hallway and sort of access those rooms. All of the rooms have either a king size or double beds. And as at this point in time, they are also all equipped with refrigerators and microwaves. And all of those fixtures will stay in the building as part of the purchase of the hotel. But yes, we will issue an RFP for the design work as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilman Hester.
Brother Freeman, how you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
So that property off Lee Highway, what's the square footage of the area?
I don't recall the exact square footage, but I could ask Gail, our real property manager, to come up.
And give us an idea what's adjacent, what's near that property too.
So it's on a stretch of Lee Highway where McKay's bookstore is sort of a little further down and across the street. And then there's another hotel across the street and another hotel next door. And then there's some manufacturing further down Lee Highway, sort of at the end of Lee Highway. And this is also on a car to bus route. So if you were taking the interstate out to East Brainerd and you got off at the Bonnie Oaks Drive exit off I-75, you would go, I guess, west, take the west exit on Bonnie Oaks, and then make that first right onto Lee Highway. And then the hotel comes up on the left.
So it's right near that old Waffle House there.
Yes, the Waffle
Okay.
House that was just torn down and rebuilt.
Okay.
I only know that because I eat Waffle House a lot. So.
Are you good, sir?
The total building square footage is 29,317 square feet.
Thank you. Appreciate
sir.
that.
Is that all?
That's
Are you
it.
good?
Thank you. I'm good.
Councilwoman Burrs, since you've weighed in, let me go to Councilman Byrd and I'll come back.
Sure.
Councilman Byrd.
Jermaine, roundabout how many rooms?
So there's officially 73 units. And then there is a manager apartment for the manager that's on site. And then some of the units are also considered suites. So they are twice the size of most of the other rooms. So there are probably 4 or 5 suites.
professors. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Councilwoman Burrs, you want to hit your light again?
Thank my colleagues for these really great questions, because they're the questions I asked at the very beginning. A couple of comments. When the RFP goes out, we've already reached out to the community, especially Silverdale. They have a committee, and they've already given us written requisites of what they'd like to see in an RFP. And we'll probably be meeting with them after the first of the year to design the RFP. And if you guys want to see the RFP, you can see the RFP. This isn't any secret thing. As far as the number of units, that may change. These are going to be the efficiencies, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So the inside is going to totally change so that it can, what it's going to look like is, some of the pilots or some of the affordable housing we've done throughout the districts. Well, not all the districts, unfortunately. That's what it's going to look like. It's the plans. And the only reason the names aren't out of who's going to help us is because right now they've asked that their names not be out, but they're very credible people who are on board. We've done all the homework. It's going to look totally different than it does now. And hopefully this will be a trend. But it's going to be a very inclusive process. The other thing is, it occurred to me that every one of us could be without income at any given time. So please don't commit a suicide and think that these people look like somebody else. It could be us. And as a matter of fact, there have been people in working with volunteers in medicine and some of the other agencies that, because of my work, I work with, the look of people in need has changed. We may isolate ourselves so much that we don't realize that. But please don't think that people in need look a certain way. They look all kinds of ways, and many of them look like us. And we have an obligation in the city to meet that spectrum. So I would hope that none of us would think that when we talk about helping other people, we have a biased attitude about what those people look like. That's dead wrong, and it's not very moral. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions or comments for Mr. Freeman while he's here on 7A? All right, if not, we're moving to 7B, Madam Clerk.
A resolution declaring surplus of property located at 37016 Avenue and further identified as tax parcel number 168HD001.
All right, I'm seeing no lights. 7C.
A resolution authorizing the extension of the professional services agreement with Public Financial Management for financial advisory services for 1 year to expire on August 20, 2022.
All right. Items 7D, E, and F, I believe were covered last week. Is that correct, Councilman Hester in Public Parks and Public Works? And I'm sorry? That's correct. And read into the record. So I'll just simply ask, are there any questions or comments concerning 7D, E, or F at this time? If not, let's turn our attention to our purchase questions for this afternoon. Purchase items, I should say. Are there any questions concerning our purchase items for this evening? Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair. The alarm monitoring has gone up 50%. As I studied that, it looked like it was just across the board from a $10 a month to an $18 a month charge. Can Julia, you or Donald help me out just to understand that and why it went up that much?
I can get some additional information for you on that between now and 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Chair.
You good? Okay. Any other questions concerning any of our purchase items? Vice Chair Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not a particular question about these items, but I did want to make sure that the council was aware there are some RFP items that are also in that spreadsheet. They are not in the packet. So if everybody wants to check their spreadsheet, there are 3 or 4 RFPs that we will be discussing this evening too. I believe, Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there are.
Yeah, there are 5 different
5.
RFPs, and if it'd be helpful, I can give you just a 2-sentence rundown of what those are.
If
since
you
it's
would,
not in
please,
your
since
packet.
it's not in the packet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the first is from the Benefits Division of HR, and it's specifically for a pharmacy benefit manager. What this is effectively pulling out the pharmacy benefit management piece of our overall health benefits. This is a trend that we're seeing in benefits that has resulted in cost savings in other organizations. And so we are giving that a try to see if there are any standalone organizations that are interested in managing that piece. It will also be included in what is the second RFP, which is our overall health benefits. So we will get RFPs that will, or we'll get responses rather, that will include that benefit management portion included as well as separated out. The third RFP from the benefits division is in regards to our vision insurance, looking for proposals there. The last 2 RFPs are both in relation to public art projects. The first being for Limbrook Park Public Art Project, and then the second being an East Lake Park Playful Seating Project.
Thank you.
All right. And Madam Clerk, I think I did ask last week if we could start including those RFPs in our packets. I'm sorry? Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments concerning purchases or RFPs? If not, let's move to our November the 2nd agenda, what we refer to as our 2-week agenda. Let me know if there are any questions or concerns on any item on November the 2nd. I will draw your attention to the fact that we are having a public hearing on our FY22 operations budget. This will be just one public hearing. You may sign up on Zoom and address us on our Zoom platform or appear here in person. All right, seeing no questions, let's look at our future considerations. Anything on your future considerations that needs to be brought to our attention at this time? Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring to your attention, I 100% support the deal with Steam Logistics for the pilot, but I'll be removing myself from the vote for due to personal relationships with that organization.
Oh, just from the vote though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we are
99.
scheduled to have that in committee. What date?
November the 9th.
November the 9th. Okay.
I've already spoken with Jermaine about it. So.
Okay. Mr. Freeman, you have something to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am. All right, I think that concludes all of our agenda items. That does bring us to departmental reports, which we are going to have an update on the construction and trade school by Mr. Freeman. You can come back to the podium. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This morning, we had the groundbreaking ceremony for the Construction Career Center in District 8. So the Construction Career Center, as a reminder to the City Council, is going to be at the Old Marianne Garber Elementary School, which is located at 2225 Roanoke Avenue in Avondale. And the groundbreaking ceremony was well attended and included Governor Bill Lee, as well as several members of our state delegation in the legislature, as well as members of the County Commission, City Council, and School Board. Obviously, Mayor Kelly is a supporter of the center and increasing workforce opportunities that provide our residents paths to careers that pay a living wage are a big part of the mayor's vision for our community and will be an important part of the mayor's One Chattanooga strategy. And so the Construction Career Center will now serve as our community's premier construction trade school for adults and students, and will provide dual enrollment opportunities next year for students attending Brainerd High School, East Ridge High School, and Howard High School. So we're very, very excited about that. On behalf of Mayor Kelly and the administration, I really just wanted to take this moment to say thank you to the City Council for your support of the project. Obviously, this project would not have moved forward had you all not supported an appropriation in this year's operating budget, as well as the donation of 2 acres of city-owned property for the expansion of the school. It was a chilly morning this morning outside, as some of you can attest to. So I want to say a special thank you to Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester, and Chairman Henderson for attending today's ceremony. And I want to give a big special thank you to Councilman Byrd, who has been a big advocate for the Career Center. And if all of the traffic around the ceremony this morning disrupted some of the residents in Avondale, please accept my apologies for that. And I especially, though, wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Chairman Henderson. What a lot of people don't realize is that this project has now been in the works for over 2 years. Conversations started about this long before the pandemic started. And it was Chairman Henderson who sort of laid out a vision, because of his experience and background in the construction and trades industry, about how a new workforce and construction trade school could really be a centerpiece for our entire city, and especially for the East Chattanooga community. And so I just really wanted to say thank you to Chairman Henderson for his leadership on this, because without his vision for what this could be, this wouldn't have happened. So if it's okay, I'd like to give you a round of applause.
No.
Yes, sir. So with that, so we're excited. And then in terms of timeline, the school is set to be open in time for next school year. So thank you.
All right, hold on one second. We've got a couple of lines. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, you know I was gonna get you up because you forgot about my colleague. It was gonna be a whole roasting session, but however, I'm very excited about this trade school opening up in our community. It's gonna change some lives in that Avondale, East Chattanooga area. I'm most definitely excited for Councilman Byrd because he gets to check this off his box as something that he campaigned on both terms that he seeked election. So I'm really proud of you for sticking with it. And I especially want to thank Chairman Henderson for your vision and even saying what you can imagine that can be life-changing for the East Chattanooga area that is predominantly housed with African-American and, poor white people in this community that have been historically neglected and forgotten about, but you understood what the use of your hands, having that skill can do, and teaching people that skill and the money that they can make, how it's going to change the lives of families. You could have suggested that it be housed in anywhere in the city of Chattanooga. So thank you so much for that, Chip.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Hester.
I want to echo the same sentiments of Councilwoman Coonrod. That thank you for your effort, Chief. And thank you, Freeman, for your efforts too. But my question is this. You mentioned Brainerd, East Ridge, and Howard. How many students are slated to participate in the trade school?
I will double check that, but I believe, well, let me not speculate, but there is an equal number that are supposed to attend during the daytime hours, in the morning, and then an equal number that will attend in the afternoon. And so they have the student body that will be split up that way. I will double check the numbers for you, which I can look up here momentarily. And then the school will also be open to adult learners who are also seeking vocational trades.
And also consider, when you guys do build another trade school, consider Midtown. Remember that, Midtown, all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
We will not forget Midtown, and we will not forget the kitchen incubator, which is in Midtown. which we will continue to support.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Byrd.
Thank you so much, Chair. Jermaine, you said Brainerd, East Ridge, Tyner,
No, I'm sorry, Brainerd, East Ridge, and Howard.
Brainerd, East Ridge, and Howard. Okay. Thank you. Once Mr. Chip Henderson, next time you decide to go fishing in somebody's backyard, would you please give me a heads up? He caught a big one. That's a little joke between me and Councilman Henderson. I just want to say thank you, Chair.
I just
Chair.
tried to put water in the pond. That's
You
all.
did it. You put amazing water in the pond and you fed the fish in the pond. Just thank you so much for all the work you've done behind this project. I know the work that went behind it, behind the scenes that people didn't see, and I just really commend you and appreciate you for your work and just spearheading this. Thank you so much for caring about the community of District 8, District 9, 7, because all those communities border, and I think this is going to be just something amazing for that community. But to the kids and the parents that have children, the parents that have children at Brainerd, East Ridge, and Howard, this is not going to work if you do not force your kids to sign up, force your kids to be a part of it. My son goes to Howard. I'm going to be on him every day to get him to sign up for this because, you know, we'll look across the street and we'll see people that don't look like us and while we're in that community, and we'll blame everybody. We'll say, yeah, they didn't do the outreach. Yeah, they didn't come knock on our door. But today, we know about it. And I'm gonna continue to preach about it and I'm gonna continue to tell folks about it. But let's go knock down the doors of this new center. Let's go knock down the doors and say, hey, we wanna be there. And let's make sure every parent that go to these schools, get your kids signed up. I was at Howard yesterday and I noticed they have night school there. And these are for kids that have been a little disruptive. They can't go during the day. They have to go at night. Just think if we can take those disruptive kids and put them in this trade school, how it would change their lives, how it would just give them a different sense of hope. So I just appreciate you, Jermaine. Thanks to the staff of the city. And I look forward to seeing this next year. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to answer Councilman Hester's question, so it's 160 students, 80 in the morning and 80 in the afternoon.
And Councilman Byrd, it was pointed out to me today that through your leadership, you've achieved a trifecta out in East Chattanooga between Avondale Rec Center, New Pond Paint, and now the trade school. So congratulations and thank you for your leadership out there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Councilman Ledford.
Well, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon and ride it all the way, Chairman. Congratulations to my friend Anthony Byrd over there. You have done a great job in District 8, and I'm so happy with the work that you've been doing. We've asked about investments and opportunities, and you fight. You fight for those investments and those opportunities. You brought the governor down. And you know what? We're seeing the results, and I'm very proud to back you up. And Chairman, thank you for your leadership on this as well. I've heard you talk about the importance of this. This is what happens when we work together. This is what happens when we do care. People come to me a lot and they say, you know what, we watched the city council. It happened the first time, in my first term when the city council works together, they listen to each other. We may disagree at times or on a particular issue, but when I hear and Byrd tells me what's going on in his neighborhood, when Councilwoman Coonrod tells me, when Dr. Burrs tells me, anybody who listens, and you know what we do? This council responds. This council responds with action. And we have responded in action because we have been supportive of each other. We've been supportive with organizations. The county, the city work together on this with our state legislation, all the way up to the governor's office. And imagine what else we can do together moving forward with that kind of attitude, a can do, bringing investments, bringing opportunities to the areas that desperately need it. And I think we're committed to that. And I think this is just the beginning of great things. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Jermaine, for bringing that report to us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we do have a public safety meeting this afternoon. where we'll be hearing from our park chairperson. So at this time, I will turn the floor or turn the chair over to Councilman Byrd for public safety.
Thank you. Welcome to Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, October the 26th. May I have approval of the minutes? Thank you. Thank you. Today we get to hear from our park board for our quarterly report. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you.
And thank you so much for all the work that you do in bringing this to us. We thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready.
Well, you should have gotten the report and plenty of time to look over it. The statistics are pretty consistent as far, we have, in this last quarter, we did hear 46 cases, which is up from the previous reporting periods. But when it comes to the breakdown of the number of citizen-generated complaints and violations found is pretty consistent. And same with the internally generated complaints. And for instance, in this reporting period, there were 17 cases opened on potential policy violations. And in 16 of those, and those were generated internally, not by a citizen complaint. They were internal through the police department. And in 16 of those 17 cases, Park and the chain of command found at least one violation of policy. So that's pretty consistent with respect to the internal reporting of policy violations, where they're policing themselves is what we're seeing. I changed up that next category because it was getting too labor intensive for a volunteer who's not really great in math. So I'm just going to do for the section C, cumulative. So it's going to keep going up. I'm going to keep going from October 2020 through, for this report, September 2021, we reviewed 158 cases. So I'm just going to keep adding those. So, and in this report, it indicates that the final result from the chief differed from the park recommendation in 9 of those cases. We didn't have 9 new cases from the last quarterly report. We probably only had 3, but because it was getting really complicated in when we get the results back and the deadline for the report that I have to do. And there's logistical and reasonable reasons that we're not getting the chief results back in a week. You know, they have their own process. Once we give our results, the chief makes his recommendation. If the officer wants to have a hearing, then that adds time to the return of the chief's results. So that category, we're just going to make that one cumulative. The second section is to the same categories of violations for that reporting period. You'll see the number of complaints, violations found by the chain of command, and then violations found by park. Pretty consistent from what we've seen previously. Some of the categories were up a little bit, but I think percentage-wise, it's pretty consistent with actual policy violations found by park. And then the third category are just issues that we see when we're reviewing these cases, whether there was a violation of policy found in a particular case or not, just the process or maybe a concern we have. So what we've started to do with these concerns, so they don't just get left on the shelf and not resolved or reviewed, is I met with Assistant Chief Scruggs to go over this section's concerns from, I believe I went from, I had it written down somewhere, October 2020 through end of June. And we went through each of those categories. And in some instances, they had resolved it in a way that was favorable to our recommendation. 3 of the 7 areas. 2, they're pending review to see if there's an opportunity to make some changes. And if there are opportunities, and they will. And then 1 of our requests was just not feasible. And it's understandable. It's based on the timing of the chief's results. And so I went over all of these with the entire committee and no one had any concerns about it. So what Chief Scruggs and I talked about doing going forward is maybe having a mid-year review of these comments and concerns, and an end of the year review for the second half of the year to see where we are and to see if changes are being made, and if they're not, what the reason might be. And so far, we've been satisfied with how they're handling our concerns, and they've made some changes to some of their policies in a positive way.
All right. Yes, you're done.
Any questions?
Yes, you do have some questions.
Okay.
All right, Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kay, thank you for the wonderful job you're doing. I've got a great deal of respect for you and the work you're doing.
Thank you.
So I guess maybe this is for the chief.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Chief Tucker. It's really not about speed limits. It's about size. So I guess I'm curious about the body cameras.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't everybody have a body camera where it's an action that would require a body camera? Is that, it would seem to me that's just like all their other equipment. Is it a lack of funding? Is it, what is it?
A little bit. We have, when we first got body cameras, going back to Chief Fletcher,
Mhm.
we looked at it, we said, well, anybody that has regular enforcement duties with the public, your patrolman, your traffic division,
Mhm.
certain investigative positions are they have the need to have body camera because they're the ones making the arrest. Now, your investigator, they're not usually going to be in that dynamic situation. They're going to be in an office. They'll be interviewing people. So the need, we felt like, needed to be emphasized to that patrol special operations group.
Well, I was looking at what Ms. Baker was talking about. And Kay, I assume you're talking about people that are in the direct contact active venue, not the investigators that don't all have body cameras.
Well, and I know one point, and you can elaborate more, was made about officers working off-duty jobs.
Mhm.
Where, okay, they may be an investigator or may work an administrative job, but then they put on their uniform and go work at the stadium or
Mhm.
wherever, where they do have, but they're
Mhm.
not issued a body camera. So I think they found that to be problematic.
Okay. Well, so when you're talking about not all officers who should have body cameras that don't, they fall into the former category. Is that right, Kay? There are people out there, patrol persons, that sort of thing, that are not everyone that should have a body camera. I'm not talking about extra jobs and stuff.
Well, we had a few instances where maybe an investigator or someone who's in the beer board, or not beer board,
They have.
oh, they do.
Yeah.
Well, there were some categories of officers who weren't required under policy to have a body cam, but they might work an extra shift, let's say some of the protests or at a parade event, and they did not have a body cam
body
because they
cam.
weren't required to have a body cam. So one of the discussions that I had with Chief Scruggs, and that's one of the ones that's pending, is to see a cost benefit analysis in buying extra body cams so that if Detective or Investigator Smith is going to work a protest, he has a body cam.
Okay.
And one of the cases that did happen, the investigator did borrow a body cam, but the battery was not, it wasn't working or something like that. So I do know that they make efforts when they can, but I think it might be the number of body cams, although I think the cost comes with the storage of all of the footage, not the body cam itself.
Okay, well, my takeaway here isn't criticism of anything. if it's a matter of you don't have sufficient funds to have sufficient working body cams where they should be, then that's something we need to take a look at, particularly today. There's all sorts of allegations. There's all sorts of things going on, and officers shouldn't misbehave. I mean, we know all that. And I think the body cams would be helpful. And I guess our input here would have to be if you don't have sufficient funding. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
I've talked with our vendor
Mhm.
and we're gonna look and see what that looks like.
Okay,
From a budget, but I've spoken with the Axon rep. and
Okay.
Because of that request.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Chief, no more questions. Chair. Me, I think I do remember seeing this, the last quarterly report as well, this topic come up. So I would definitely, just with the state that our world is in, you know, first, let's say that Chattanooga Police Department, I salute you guys. You do a wonderful job. I know it's not perfect, I understand, but you guys do a wonderful job. We're proud to have you guys here in the city of Chattanooga. But I think this right here should be done sooner than later. So I would like to see something come across the desk or come to us saying, hey, this is what it looks like. And then we can start working with the new administration to see how we can get there. Because
sir.
this will help us out a lot. So but
Yes, sir.
thank you. I would definitely love to see that. And thank you.
Thank you.
And a lot of the issues here at 3A, it says policy receiving, when they receive training, or what does the initial training or discourtesy includes. Could you elaborate on that for me? Okay.
Well, it came about when we, in this quarter, saw a higher incidence of allegations
I got you.
of discourtesy and improper procedure.
Mhm.
And so the question from one of the park members was, we just would like to know, how is there training initially when officers come through the department, and or when if they are found to be in violation of discourtesy, is part of their, if they're not terminated or if they don't resign, and we aren't privy to the formal retraining or remedial training results, or if they're even required to do it. So the member just wanted to know if the police department sees a consistent problem with a particular officer, are they required to go through remedial training? And if so, what does that look like? And then, but generally speaking, what kind of training are officers given? Scruggs and I kind of talked about, it kind of goes in with the de-escalation.
Right.
Because a lot of times if you're courteous, you can de-escalate. And so the conversation was about what kind of training would they be able to require of a police officer that was found to be in violation of a discourtesy policy.
So if that question was asked to you, could you answer that question now?
No, sir.
You could.
No. But remember, this is, we're seeing this for the first time right
understand.
now. So this would be, which is why I requested that we do a mid-year and end-of-year review of these categories with the police to see, okay, can they answer the question? Are there any changes that they might make, or why not if they don't make any changes? So I would anticipate, hearing back from the police department. They got this report the same time you guys did. So I haven't had any communications with them about these two categories of concerns.
I see Chief Tucker back there nodding his head, so.
No, I just, I think that's a valid question.
Yes, sir.
And we do train on de-escalation.
Yes, sir.
Just in looking at it, do we need to have a better process if somebody is found to have a sustained allegation on discourtesy, or, does it need retraining? Sometimes discipline itself fixes the problem, or they will come in hat in hand saying, yeah, I was wrong, and they know better. So it kind of varies. But certainly worth another look. And, again, the Axon contract y'all just passed a few weeks ago, that's what we hope to get out of the virtual reality training. It's maybe the opportunity to have scenarios where we can look at ways to, okay, this is a situation, might be high stress, but, you need to give a low response to bring it down a notch. So that's what we're hoping to get a handle on.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing that, and just thank you for the partnership and work with Park. I think this Park board is going great. I appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for the amazing information. I see no one else with any more questions or comments, and
I
think-
would like to just thank Kay.
Yes.
She does a really good job, I hear, just from our internal affairs, our city attorney, compliments, and thank you for the work that you put into this. I really do appreciate her.
She's amazing. And to the people in the audience, the people that are looking at Zoom, all 9 members have a Park person that sits on this board. Please reach out to your council person and let them know that you would like to sit on this board and you would like to be a part of this, because I think this is a great service to our community. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no more questions, or we can adjourn to 6. Thank you.